Well, hello and welcome to Aligned Fitness Living. It's Mike Thornton, your transformation coach. And I'm excited that you're here and excited today to talk to you about something that has been a recent topic for me because I'm working on a presentation for a company on emotions and how to handle your emotions and how to handle your stress. And that's kind of where this module number 3, Aligned Emotions, kind of fits in with everything. So Module 3, Aligned Emotions. We're going to talk about what causes our emotions, how we can use motion to change emotion. This is going to get a little wordy here because obviously we are using words that sound similar. How can we use our bodies? How can we use our physiology to change our emotions? And the opposite, how can we use emotions, what we feel inside, to create motion, to get us moving? We're also going to talk about how to control emotional eating and how to use FIRE to control emotional eating. We'll talk about what that acronym means once we get to it. So let's keep moving. What are our emotions? Our emotions are a mental state that arises spontaneously rather than through conscious effort and is often accompanied by physiological changes, a feeling that we have basically. Something that we don't necessarily set out to create, but that just happens spontaneously instead of us doing it through conscious thought. So what I did here is I underlined 2 things that were really important when it comes to emotions. Number 1 is mental state, tells us it has something to do with our mind, right? And physiological changes, which means it also has something to do with our bodies. So basically it's a connection between mind and body. Them working together, our mindset and our physiological what's going on with our body physiologically work together to create our emotions. So here's a list of emotions that might ring a bell. Obviously when we're talking about an emotional state that we don't really particularly want to be in, okay, because if we were just walking around happy all the time and excited and motivated all the time, then we probably wouldn't need a module to talk about how we can use and align our emotions to get us where we want to get. But hey, it's human nature to feel certain emotions, to feel depressed sometimes, to feel anxious sometimes, to feel anger sometimes, to feel sadness sometimes. And the good news is that there's something that we can do to change it. So what causes emotions? Well, again, there's been tons of studies done, and we don't really know exactly what exactly creates an emotion, but here's what we do know. There's a relationship that exists. That relationship is between our thoughts, our physical sensations, our behaviors, and our emotions. So here you have, I love this little example because it's perfect. A situation happens. A friend was late. Let's use a spouse because everybody that has a spouse has been through this. But if you don't have a spouse, a friend, okay? But your spouse is late and you're unable to reach them by the phone. Well, automatically thoughts start going through your mind. What if he or she was in an accident? Your behavior changes. You're making repeated phone calls or sending texts or whatever it might be to try to reach that person. Your physical sensations start to change. Heart palpitations, sweating, probably your breathing is increased. But these things work together to create these emotions. Now, you notice that there's lines that connect all of these. Your thoughts alone can create emotions. Your behaviors alone can create emotions. Your physical sensations alone can create emotions. But they all kind of work together to have this relationship that basically causes our emotional state. So you see in red there, what we just popped up on the screen, the 2 over here in the bottom left, those are physiological. They involve the body. They're physical sensations. Your behaviors that you're doing involve something that you're doing with your body. And then, of course, your thoughts are in your mind. So remember the slides, a couple slides back, we said that basically emotions are caused by your mindset and your your physical being, okay? I'm getting tongue-tied on that one, aren't I? So what I want to talk about first is how we can use motion to create emotion, how we can use our body, since we know there's a connection there, to create the emotional state that we want. Maybe we're depressed, we're listless, we're unmotivated, and we want to change that. It says, believe it or not, you are using motion and your body to feel these emotions. You might not think that you are, because remember, it's not a conscious effort that we're making when we feel emotion sometimes. It's something that happens, through spontaneity. But think about it, your breathing, your posture, the gaze that you might have in your eyes, your body position, or even your lack of movement. But all these things have to do with your physical being, and they're helping create that emotional state, The good news is all these things can be changed, but let's go back and think about, I want you to picture for a moment what their body position might look like if somebody's depressed or unmotivated. You might want to think about what their posture looks like. Where's their head? Where's their eyes? What are their facial expressions? Where are their shoulders? Are they slumped, or do they have their shoulders back? So we're actually, whether we're aware of it or not, we're using our physical being. Again, I'm getting tongue-tied on that one, to create an emotional state, even if we're unaware of it. So what we need to do is we need to create some positive motion. So what you can do when you're aware that you're in an emotional state that you don't want to be in is you can change these things. Okay, so here's some examples. Deep, purposeful breathing, posture, head up, shoulders back, standing tall, tensing your muscles, hands on your hips, facial expressions, smiling, getting your eyes nice and wide, pursed lips. Pursed lips, that's right, even pursed lips. Just take a look at Facebook and you'll see what I'm talking about. Pursed lips. Movement, clapping your hands. You saw me do that just a moment ago. Clap your hands, bounce up and down, speed up your walk, put some pep in your step. But all of these things will help change your physiology and in your physical being, and they will help create a different emotional state as well. So here's my golden rule. You ready? You got your pen ready? You're going to write this down. My golden rule. Fake it until you feel it. Fake it until you feel it. Now, if you're going, well, hold on, Mike, I don't want to be a fake. I don't want to be going around and acting like a phony all the time. Well, it's not really faking. I want you to think about it. If you want to feel energetic, then you have to act energetic first, okay? If you want to feel motivated, then you act motivated. If you want to feel confident, then you act confident. In a very, very, very short time, the act, the motion that you're taking, the faking it, if you will, it triggers certain physiological changes in your body, which help create the emotions associated with them. I don't know if you know much about me. I know there's a lot of new people on watching this program, but I have gotten up at 4 o'clock in the morning for as long as I can remember. And I have to go lead sometimes classes of 50 people at 5:30 in the morning, and I have to try to get them motivated and get them excited and get them through a 1-hour workout where they feel energized and ready to be there. And I gotta, if I'm being honest with you, I don't wake up at 4 o'clock every morning and spring out of bed and say, it's time to go teach boot camp. Sometimes I don't feel like it. But what do? When I get there, I'm gonna clap my hands, I'm gonna smile, I'm gonna say, who's ready to go? And I'm going to fake it until I feel it. And I always get there. And I ask my participants to do the same thing. Fake it until you feel it. Basically what I'm saying is, act like you're excited to be there. Act like you're energetic. Act like you're motivated. And through the process of acting that way, you'll start to feel that way as well. So you can use your body to create the emotions that you want. Okay? Remember, behaviors will create emotions. So that's really the part we're talking about, right? Faking it till you feel it, okay? And we're using our behaviors to create an emotional state that we want. Well, the opposite is also true, okay? If you can use motion to create the emotional state that you want, you can also use emotions to create the physical state you want as well. So if we're talking about using emotion to create motion, let's go back to our formula. Remember, there's mindset that contributes to emotions and behaviors and physiological changes. So if we're taking the physiological part out of it, we're taking the motion part out of it. Remember in the picture that was those two left pictures there, physiological state and behaviors. If we're taking that out, because we're saying we're not moving the way that we want to, then that leaves the emotions, okay? But we don't know exactly what creates emotions, so that leaves one other thing, and that's our mindset. That just leaves our thoughts to help us create the motion that we want to get us moving. In other words, what you choose to focus on will help create the emotional state that you want. Think about this. And I'm going to slow down here because I actually want you to think about it. I think I jumped ahead. Ooh, we did a lot. We were right here. Think about this. What's the happiest you've ever felt? Where were you? What were you doing? What was being said? What did you hear, see, smell, experience? Can you create it vividly in your mind? Can you take yourself there? Can you actually feel what you felt in that moment? Can you feel it in your breathing? Can you feel it in your muscles? Can you feel it in your heart? Can you feel it in your soul? Can you feel it in your mind? Put yourself in that moment, the happiest that you've ever been. And I bet, I know we're just going through an exercise right now, but I bet if you spent some time and you did this exercise, you could get yourself to feel that emotion again. I know that you could, because I do this. Think about this. If that was happiest, what about your most confident moment? What was happening there? Can you create that picture in your mind? Can you create those feelings inside of you? Your most motivated moment, your most whatever moment, whatever emotion it is that you want to feel, think about a time where you felt that emotion and take yourself back to that time in your mind. The mind is a very powerful thing. Everything is first created in your mind, right? So if you want to create that emotional state, then create it in your mind and you will feel those emotions. For me personally, I put this guy on a bench press here because when I go work out, if I'm getting ready to do a really heavy lift, and I'm trying to get myself pumped up, and really get motivated and feel energized and excited, I think about the birth of my kids. I'll let it swim around in my mind. I'll close my eyes, I'll lay on that bench press, and I'll think about that overwhelming joy and love that I felt the day that my children were born. And when I start to feel that, it energizes me and it helps me get through my workout. Now that may sound strange to you, but it works for me. There might be something else that works for you. I just completed a marathon a couple weeks ago, and I wrote on my arms, my kids' names and my wife's name and some other things that were important to me because it was a reminder as I looked down there to motivate me. It took me to an emotional place that I needed to be to run that marathon. So here are some tips for you when you're using your emotion to get you moving. Number one, close your eyes if you can. Now, don't do this in the car, and don't do this during the board meeting or whatever it is. But find an opportunity to close your eyes. Create as vivid as you can a mental picture. Include all of your senses, just like we talked about in that little exercise, and feel it. And allow yourself to sit in that moment a while. And then as you start to feel that emotion, act on that emotion. And that's how we use emotion to create action. So, we're talking about emotions in this module. So one of the things we often think of, especially when we're talking about fitness, right, is emotional eating. So what exactly is emotional eating? Emotional eating is basically defined as overeating in order to relieve negative emotions. We're not talking about eating because you're hungry. We're not talking really even about eating because you have a slight craving. We're talking about you're trying to fill a void and comfort yourself through food. It's more than a craving. We talked about cravings way back with the food, but cravings can be controlled with questions. Remember how this is a real quick review. How bad do I want it? On a scale of 1 to 8, it can wait. 9 and 10? All right, here we go. Do I really want it? Or do I want what I think it will bring me? Will it really bring me that, or will it bring me something else? And do I want that? Okay, you remember this from the food module. So we talked about how to control cravings with questions. Well, emotional eating is caused by stress, and it requires a little bit more work to change it. And so what I want to talk to you about is something called FIRE. It's an acronym, and it's what I mentioned a presentation that I'm working on right now, and I have a whole 1-hour workshop that we do on FIRE: focus, internal environment, rearranging the data, and your external environment. We're going to cover it quickly because a lot of this stuff we've already covered, and so now we're going to kind of piece it together a little bit. But focus. First thing you have to do when you're in an emotional state, a stressful state that could cause you to emotionally eat. So let's focus on the stress part of it, is you have to change your focus, okay? I'm not, and the very first bullet point says, not from food to something else. That's not what we're talking about. When we say, well, change your focus, If you're going to eat something bad because you're in a bad emotional state, well, change your focus from food to, playing a video game or reading a book. That's not what I'm talking about. We have to dig deeper than that. We have to change what you're focusing on that is causing the stress. Is it the bills that need to be paid? Is it work? Is it kids? Is it traffic? Is it a death in the family? What is it that's in your mind that you're focusing on that is causing that stress? Because it's the stress that causes the emotional eating that will lead you to the behavior of eating because of the emotions. So what we have to do is get to the root of the stress. And to do that, we have to change what we're focusing on. Remember that our thoughts help create emotions. So you're going to focus on something that will begin to change your emotion. The second step is your internal environment. You've already started on this with step 1. You've already started to change your internal environment because we're changing what we're thinking about. But we're going to dig a little deeper. We're going to use the same question strategy to ask yourself why you turn to food during stress. The same question strategy that we use in the cravings to control cravings with questions. Do I really want this, or what I think it will bring me, and what will it really bring me? Basically, you're going to outline the beliefs that you have about eating and what you think it will bring you. You've already gained some control by changing your focus. And now we're going to dig deep, because we're not just going to change your focus and go, all right, well, let's move on. No, we want to really try to change something here. So if you're an emotional eater, I'm not saying, hey, let's just distract you and change your focus and then move on. Let's change your focus, change what you're thinking about, and then start to change what it is that got you there in the first place. So what you're going to do is you're going to outline your beliefs that you have about eating. We talked about outlining your beliefs all the way back in Module 1, you remember? So this should sound familiar as we start to get through rearranging the data. The R stands for rearrange the data. Sound familiar? Yes, because, again, we've already covered this back in Module 1. Emotions are tied to your beliefs. We've already established that. In this case, it's your belief about how foods will make you feel, what void they will fill, okay? These are limiting beliefs, obviously, because they're limiting your progress. They're causing you to take action, behavior that is not in alignment with what your goals are, which is to live a healthy fitness lifestyle. So remember our 5-step process to changing limiting beliefs. Identify your limiting beliefs, write them out, as many as come to mind. So I'm going to go through this quickly because you already know this 5-step process. You're going to rewrite that belief with something that will empower you and build you up instead. What's the emotional payoff, old or new? Well, hey, look, now we're talking about emotions, okay? Reframe the evidence. Find new evidence that will support your new belief. And you ingrain that new belief into your belief system instead of the old belief, the old emotional payoff. You get a new emotional payoff. Again, I'm going over that quickly because we've already done this. You've already covered that. The E stands for external environment. Okay, so yeah, we're working up here, but we're also going to change what we can on the outside. Change your body, change your breathing, change your posture, change your facial expressions. It may sound silly, but again, if you fake it till you feel it, you will feel it. So if you're going, man, I'm depressed, I'm stressed, that ice cream, it's calling me, I really just want to take a spoon and sit on the couch and dig in, or I want to open that bag of potato chips or go stop and buy all that Mexican food or whatever it might be, we've changed our focus. We have started on our internal environment and we've rearranged the data. But we also have to change the external environment. So, if you're feeling kind of depressed and then you say, you know what, I'm gonna tense my muscles, I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna smile, I'm gonna widen my eyes. It may seem crazy to you, but it will start to change how you're feeling. Use your body, go for a walk, clap your hands, do some push-ups, dance if you want to. Again, be selective of where you choose the dance option, okay? But do something with your body that's going to make you feel good. And then change your surroundings. Basically, get out of Dodge. If you're sitting on your couch, if you're laying in your pajamas on your couch and you're in this emotional state, get up, get out of there, go do something. Change your clothes, change your environment, change the things that are around you, and get out of Dodge, okay? This is my last slide. I'm covering this quickly because I want to keep us on time, but Emotions can be changed. You don't have to sit there and drown in emotions. But it takes action. Like all this stuff that we're outlining here, everything that is in this aligned 8-week program, it takes action. That's what we're talking about with the whole program, is that there's steps that you can take, there's a checklist that you can take to change something that isn't working for you. Action changes things. That's ACT, right? Action changes things. So just by listening to these modules or even downloading the slides or whatever it might be isn't going to change anything. That's not the action we're talking about. We're talking about taking action on the steps that are outlined here. Go way back to the beginning when we started. The very first thing I asked you to do is the 5-minute mindset. Every day to get up and think about what your goals are and what your purpose is and, what your belief systems are. 5 minutes a day. Are you acting on that? Are you taking that action? We talked about, in the food modules, we talked about weighing your food and measuring your food and taking that action. Are you doing that? So when we talk about these emotional changes that you can author, basically, you can be the author of your emotions by changing. Remember the slide, you can change your the physiological things of your body, your breathing, your facial expressions, and things like that, your behavior, the actions that you're taking, or your thoughts, where your focus is, and all those things are really kind of what create your emotions. So you can take action to change those. The question is, will you? And I hope that you will, because that's what this whole program is about. We've said it from the beginning, this program is not about being perfect. You're going to feel stress. You're going to have emotions that come into your life that you don't want. So what are you going to do with them? Are you going to swim, let's kind of drown in those emotions? Or are you going to change something? Are you going to change your focus? Are you going to change your breathing? Are you going to change your facial expression? Are you going to get out of Dodge and change your environment? You have the ability to do that. When I greet you every time and say, hello, powerful people, it's because we have the power to do these things, but it takes action. So I believe that you're going to do it, and I will plan on seeing you in a wonderful emotional state for the next module. In the meantime, I'll be rooting you on.